Oh, and we are going to relentlessly, and I mean relentlessly, mock podcast movement. Let's start with that because it's just going to be we're going to start, people. You think you can't achieve certain things through passive mockery? I think you're wrong. I actually think a lot of stuff is starting to turn around, even in the eyes of the middle ground, because we're living in a world of such absolute insanity that something like this occurs and you actually seriously, sincerely think it's satire parody because it's so preposterous, and then you realize it's not. Okay. I'm going to star some super chats. We'll come back to it. So podcast movement, I've never heard of it. Apparently it's like a convention, a seminar, or not. It's a conference, for how to run a successful podcast. They have an ongoing conference in Dallas, apparently, like a current conference. People attend. Successful podcasters buy booths or whatever, and it's like one of those stupid conferences. I don't know more about it than that because I only learned about this yesterday. Okay. So they're holding a conference right now in Dallas. Podcast movement. Let me what did I just do? Here we go. Podcast movement. They're holding a conference right now. Let's just go here. Just going to see what podcast movement is. The world's largest community of podcasters, news, resources, and the best events in podcasting. Join us August 23 to August 26 in Dallas and March 7 to March 10, 2023 in Las Vegas. I have a feeling attendance in Las Vegas might be a little bit down year over year, given what just happened yesterday. So I'm with the kids, just keeping up on my phone because they're doing something, I'm doing something. And I read this tweet. And it says this: "Hi, folks. We owe you an apology." Let me read it in a satirical voice because that's how I thought it was intended. "Hey, folks, we owe you an apology before session kicks off for the day. Yesterday afternoon, Ben Shapiro briefly visited the PM 2022 podcast movement year 2022 Expo near the Daily Wire booth, because, there's a bit of a correlation between Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. Though he was not registered or expected, we take full responsibility for the harm done by his presence." I swear to you, I thought that it was a joke and that I had responded without realizing that it was a joke. I was like, oh, okay, I'm an idiot. I took this seriously. It didn't have the / sarcasm. I'm an idiot. My sarcasm detector's off. Erratum coming from Viva Fry. Then I read the next one. "There's no way around it. We agreed to sell to the Daily Wire a first-time booth based on the company's large presence in podcasting." Yeah, that sounds like an actual good strategic decision if you want to teach people about successful podcasts. Seems like a good idea. Also seems like a good business idea to get successful podcasters to want to give you money so that they can tell other people how to run successful podcasts. That sounds like a great business model. The weight of that decision is now painfully clear. Bear in mind, people, I'm still not certain that this is satire. "Shapiro is a co-founder. A drop-in, however unlikely, should have been considered a possibility." This still reads like satire. It was not satire. Just see if I can find. It wasn't satire. And in response to the, first of all, so then they shut down comments, which is how you know it wasn't satire. I'm just telling you, they deserve to lose their whole business over this. You're not in the business of what you're selling. You're actually in something much, much worse. Not only that, can you imagine saying we're apologizing for the presence of Ben Shapiro? Now read it like Borat. If you could just, apply things equally, apply terms of service equally. Imagine if someone had apologized for the presence of a visible minority, like a black person, a Muslim person, an Indian person, a Sikh. Imagine if they had apologized for the presence of, let's even stack these things, a visible minority woman, Imagine if and let's just even say they had good reason to do it. Like it's I don't know what someone has to do to have someone apologize for their presence. I can think of examples. Even if it had been someone of a visible minority, woman, even if it were for the best reason on earth, like Karla Homolka attends a conference, people would still say, "Oh, that is racist, misogynist, xenophobic, anti-Islam, anti-Indian. That's racism. How dare you do that? You do it for a white male. Nobody, that reflex is not there. The reflex is there must have been a good reason. You do it for someone who's an Orthodox Jew." And my first joke was, this is institutionalized anti-Semitism. You are literally apologizing for the physical presence of a very non-assuming Orthodox Jew. I can think of a number of groups that would be very happy with this approach. Podcast movement, congratulations. You're in good company. We apologize for the presence of the Jew. I mean, I'm trying to do Borat's expression here. He's a Jew. We're so sorry. I did not mean to invite him. He's going to take everyone's money. This is cut and dry. If the shoe were on the other foot, anti-Semitism. Shapiro is open about it. He's open about his religious practices, about his religious beliefs. And now you got podcast movement saying his presence was harmful and hurtful because of his beliefs, some of which are based in his Orthodox Judaism. What is that, if not anti-Semitism, podcast movement? No, but it's fine. It's totally fine. Apologize for the presence of an Orthodox Jew because it caused harm to people who saw this guy's aura. No. And now, by the way, from what I understand, though, I think there might be Jewish individuals involved in the podcast movement. So the reflex is going to be, we can't be anti-Semitic because we're Jewish. And I think the anti-Semitic angle is just to illustrate the absurdity that had this been fill in the blank, it would be the automatic reflex. The act of apologizing for the presence of any sort of ethnic religious minority itself would be an act of violence, and they would get canceled for apologizing for the presence of an ethnic, religious, or gender minority. But no, podcast movement was serious all along, apologizing for the presence of a wildly successful podcaster who bought a booth at your subsidized your business podcast movement. But there's nothing to see here. He's such a vile human being by virtue of his beliefs, which are so wildly popular to some extent that he's become one of the most prominent voices, podcasters out there. But apologize for the presence of the Orthodox Jew because it makes people uncomfortable. And you're the good guy? I'm very sorry we invited him. Yeah.